All right, let's jump right into a topic that's, well, not only super important for your board exams, but also just a fascinating piece of biology. We're going to break down human reproduction, and we're putting a laser focus on the male reproductive system to make sure you've got everything you need to feel totally confident.
So here's our game plan. We'll start with the big picture, what sexual reproduction even is. Then we'll look at the two main ways fertilization happens. After that, we'll zoom right into the male reproductive system itself, trace the incredible journey of a sperm, and then wrap up with some A+ exam strategies.
Okay, first things first. We've got to build a strong foundation before we get into the more complex stuff. So let's talk about the fundamental process itself. It's pretty amazing when you think about it. This whole incredibly complex process boils down to one simple yet profound event: the fusion of two highly specialized cells. We call these gametes. The male gamete is the sperm, and the female gamete is the egg. Their fusion, well, that's the absolute heart of the matter. And that one moment of fusion kicks off this amazing biological domino effect. See, the act of fusion itself, that's what we call fertilization. This creates a brand new single cell called zygote. And that zygote, the very first cell of a new individual, starts dividing and developing, and that's how we get an embryo. It's a very clear step-by-step process. So that crucial step, fertilization, does it always happen neatly tucked away inside the body? Actually, no. And this leads to two very different but equally successful strategies that we see all across the animal kingdom. This table right here is absolute gold for your exams, so pay close attention. Think of it like this. External fertilization, which usually happens in water, is kind of like playing the lottery. Animals like fish and frogs just release millions of eggs and sperm and hope for the best. It's the numbers game. Internal fertilization, on the other hand, is much more direct. It happens inside the protected body of the female, like with us humans, which gives the zygote a much, much higher chance of survival. Okay, now that we've got the basics of fertilization down, let's zoom in on our main event for today, the detailed anatomy of the human male reproductive system. So the testes are the powerhouses of this whole system, and they have two really distinct jobs you need to remember. First, they are the sperm production factories, and this happens inside these tiny coiled tubes called seminiferous tubules. And second, they produce testosterone, the main male sex hormone. Two crucial functions, one organ. Now, here's a question that examiners just love to ask. I mean, think about it. Why would these super important organs be located outside the main body cavity? It seems a little risky, doesn't it? Well, there's a very cool and very specific reason, and it all comes down to temperature. And the clever piece of anatomy that solves this temperature puzzle is the scrotum. You can think of it as the body's own natural thermostat, or a cooling system. It holds the testes away from the core body heat, creating the absolute perfect environment for healthy sperm to form. And look at how precise biology is. We're not talking about a huge difference here. The ideal temperature is just 2 to 2.5 degrees Celsius cooler than our normal body temperature. It's just a fantastic example of how finely tuned our bodies are, where this tiny little change makes all the difference in the world. But hey, the testes don't do all the work alone. Think of these accessory glands as the sperm's dedicated support team. You've got the seminal vesicles providing a high-energy fluid, kind of like an energy drink for the sperm. Then the prostate gland adds its own fluid to create semen and provide more nutrients. And finally, the Cowper's gland goes first, secreting a fluid that clears the path and neutralizes any acidity. Teamwork makes the dream work, right? Okay, so we've got the production site and the support crew. But how does a sperm actually make its way from the starting line out into the world? Let's trace that incredible journey. Getting this next part down is how you're going to score major points, especially on diagram questions. If you can clearly visualize the physical path a sperm takes, you can label any diagram they throw at you. So, what is that pathway? Here it is, the essential route. Production starts in the testes. From there, the sperm move into the epididymis, which is like a storage and training facility where they mature. When it's go time, they travel through a long tube called the Vas Deferens, and finally, they exit through the urethra. Testes, epididymis, Vas Deferens, urethra. Just remember that sequence. All right, let's bring it all home. We've learned all this cool biology. Now let's talk about how to translate that knowledge into what matters most right now, getting full marks on your exam.
Tip number 1, and I honestly can't say this enough, you have to master the diagram. I mean it. Practice drawing it and labeling it until you can do it from memory without even thinking. Labeling questions are incredibly common, and they are basically free marks if you're prepared. Next up, tip number 2. It's not enough to just know the names of the parts. You have to know what each part does. For every single label on that diagram, be ready to state its function in one clear, simple sentence. Pro tip, make a little 2-column table for yourself, part and function. It's a game changer for revision. And finally, tip number 3, be ready to compare and contrast. Remember that table we looked at earlier with internal versus external fertilization? Questions that ask you to differentiate between are another favorite for examiners. Make sure you can nail down those key differences: location, examples, and the big one, survival rate. And there you have it. So now for the real test. Why don't you pause for a second and see if you can answer this question yourself? Seriously, the best way to lock in new information is to try and explain it out loud. You've got this.